Welcome to the Heartland Running Podcast. Join Stephen and Andy as they explore the running community in the Ozarks and beyond.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Heartland Running Podcast. I am Andy.
And I'm Stephen.
And we are the Weebly hosts that wobble, but we don't fall down. How are you doing this evening, Stephen?
I usually don't fall down, but sometimes I do.
Sometimes.
Do you know, Andy, do you know what helps to keep me from not falling down?
What's that?
Some delicious, nutritious sword endurance drink.
That is absolutely it. I love my sword endurance drink, and I've enjoyed since we've started talking about this, using the product. I mean, it's easy on my stomach, and I do a lot of treadmill work. And I will just have my sword endurance drink. I'll just have it right there on the treadmill, and I can just go forever. And it's just the best stuff.
I love it too. I take it out on all my long runs. We encourage people to try it. You can head over to drinksword.com, and at checkout, if you enter Heartland Runner, you can get 20% off your purchase.
All right, that sounds great. Well, for this episode, I would like to welcome our co-host, and this is Mr. Bobby Ballard. I'm going to give you a quick introduction to him. Bobby is a RRCA-certified running coach. He has run over 125 races, including 4 full marathons and 15 half marathons. I hope that's current from the data that I have. And he is the director of the Joplin YMCA running program. He's helped hundreds of local runners learn to run for health, fitness, and enjoyment. He's also a race director. He's a race pacer. And he and his wife, Jane, own the Country Caboose Wedding Chapel, where he is an ordained wedding officiant. And then finally, Bobby is a classic car enthusiast. Bobby, do you just do everything?
Well, that's pretty much describing my whole life here. I think we're done for the night. No, just about. I don't like to have much free time. You know, I really like to keep busy, and of course, between running and I officiate a lot of weddings, not just here at the caboose, but all over. So it keeps me really busy, but I enjoy every bit of it.
All right. Well, we got a lot of stuff to unpack here, and so let's get started. This is a running podcast. We like to talk running, but I think that we should step aside from that and let's talk about some classic cars for the moment. Now, you're a Mustang guy, is that correct?
That is correct. I actually worked for Hertz Rent-A-Car for many, many years, and I actually had a chance to buy a couple of their cars that were actually Mustangs, and they were in the fleet that they would actually rent out. And that's where I first got started. And of course, I've been a classic car guy for many, many years now.
Okay, so what cars do you have right now?
Well, believe it or not, as of just late last year, we sold everything that we have. I am not in a classic car at this time. I'm looking at a couple that I'm planning on buying. It'll be another Mustang, and I had a Shelby before this, but that's the one I just sold here, and actually had a Corvette that were both Hertz special edition cars, which I just happened to sell late last year. Had somebody who wanted them worse than I did.
Well, that's kind of what you do. If someone wants it, then you got to take that opportunity. A lot of people out there might not know that I'm kind of a classic car guy. I just recently sold a 70 Challenger that I discovered that I didn't have deep enough pockets to restore the way that it needed to. But I do have a restored 62 Buick Special convertible that is in desperate need of a carburetor, or until then is going to be stuck in my garage. I spend all this time going out and running and training that I don't have time to work on my car, but I'm going to get to it. It's in my garage, it's taking up space, and I need to make that happen.
And the wife is fully supportive of that, correct?
She's like, when are you going to sell that car so we can build a pool?
They just don't understand it.
I'm in my wife's good graces right now because we do not have a classic car. We have a huge garage to put it in, but there's another one that will be in the near future, I'm sure.
Well, that's good. Your garage is beautiful, and I tell you what, you and I are just fortunate that I think that you have a wife that's absolutely amazing, just like mine, and so we're both fortunate in the spouses that we have.
You are so right, and like I've said before, and people who do not run marathons do not understand that it is like a part-time job training for a half or a full marathon because, goodbye, dear, I'll be back in 4.5 hours, because I've got to go run. But people who do not run, the distance would not understand that, but it's so true.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, getting into the running aspect of it, so let's go back 5, probably 6 years now, that you're just decided that you needed to make a change, get healthy, and kind of the same process that both Stephen and I went through. Kind of describe that process to me. What made you choose to get healthy?
Well, as I was coming up on, I hate to tell how many years ago this has been, but I was coming up on my 50th birthday, and I thought, if I'm going to be around for many years, I'm going to have to make a big change. At my highest weight, I even have trouble when I go around doing speeches and showing the pictures, but I was at 305. And 5'9", 305, I've looked on many doctors' scales, many doctors' charts, and never seen that in the healthy weight, category. So I knew something had to be done, and I started eating healthy. And of all things, it was in January, I went to the mall and started making laps with all the seniors out there. But it's always 70 degrees and it's free. And it was a good place to start. So that's what I did, was start walking at the mall and then lost a considerable amount of weight. And then I got into the running gig.
Wow. Okay. So how did you actually get into running? Because that's kind of a big thing, because to go from just, maybe a sedentary life or not very active, and then decide I'm going to run, that's a big step. That's a step that all of us have made at one point. What made you take that step?
Well, after I had lost, 50, 60 pounds, I was to the point I felt I could walk 6 or 7 miles pretty easy. And it just wasn't enough of, it didn't work me hard enough. And I thought I wanted to do a little bit more. And I'd always seen people going down the road running, and it looked like they were having a good time. And that's what really inspired me, was other people. And I said, I want to do that. So I joined the Y, took the beginners or the anyone can run class, was the first class I took after that.
Now, that was like a group environment?
It was. These are I've taught this for many years now, and it's people who have never run a day in their life. And our very first class, what we teach now is we run 1 minute and walk 6 minutes, and we do that 4 times, and then we would just gradually turn it around until you're running more. But it's for people who've never run a step in their life.
Well, a year ago, I was given the challenge by some leaders in our church, because our running group has run out of our church. And they said, we want to do an introductory 5K group, and for a goal race, which is going to be the Rally 66, which we had back last fall. And we want you to teach that class. We did a Bible study along with it, but I was introducing people who've never run in their life and barely even taken a step. And so the big challenge to me was, how am I going to take people who maybe have done a little running or going to be going a little faster? I had anywhere people who ranged from 20 years old all the way up to 80 years old. And I had no idea how I was going to essentially herd these cats that are going to be going all different paces. So I thought, you know what? I need to contact Bobby. And so that's what I did. I spoke with you, and you set me up with a method to be able to keep everyone together, because that was the important part to me. Is I didn't want people to feel left out. I didn't want people to feel like they were still out on the course while others were back and finished, and they were the slow people. And so you gave me the great idea, instead of doing by distance, but to do an out and back course and do it by time, to where, so let's say, for instance, people went out for 20 minutes and then and they would turn around at 10 minutes and then come back. Well, the fast people would just go farther, and the slower people just wouldn't go quite as far, but everyone finished at the same time. And I thought that was just brilliant for the unity of the group, that everyone was coming across the finish line at the same time, and no one felt like they were slow. No one felt like they were left out. It was just a big group thing. So whenever you first started that first running group that you started in, did it kind of feel like that? Did you get a little bit of a cohesiveness along with that group?
That's so right. You hit the nail right on the head. And that's the number one fear I hear from new runners is, I don't want to be last. I don't want to be the last one, everybody waiting on me. And I hear that at races so many times, what do I do if I'm the last person to come in? So that's where this group aspect really ties in. Normally everybody will find someone who they run with who's about their pace, even if they walk half of it or just walk a couple of, minutes and then run a lot. But they always find someone who they can run with. And once they partner up with somebody, then we got a pretty good chance on getting them hooked on this running craze, I think.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is you want the entire group succeeds even when the individual meets their goal, and everyone wants to see everyone succeed, and that's so important. So you were going through that group and training up. I guess this was for a 5K. Is that correct?
That was correct. At the time, we don't have that race anymore at the Y, but it was the Armed Forces race. It was in May near Memorial Day, and that's the race we were training for. And until about April, we had a training run, and we were not doing miles yet, but we had run 2 or 3 miles up until about the middle of April.
And then so late in that training, then you had a personal health issue. And can you tell me how did that happen? What happened? How did that transpire?
I sure can. I usually tell this story to our beginner runners, but not until after they've been in quite a while because I don't want to scare them off.
That's great. Yeah.
We were completing our run, and I'd actually finished. We had done almost 3 miles, so I went out to my car, got my bottle of water, and we're sitting around talking about how great of runners we are, and like runners do. And that was the last thing I remembered for 8 days. I had a massive heart attack. And people told me for years that I'm lucky. No, I am blessed because I had a mercy nurse happened to be running with us, and she recognized it immediately and started giving me CPR. She gave me CPR until the ambulance got there. They told me about 2 or 3 minutes later. They shocked me with the deal and did that 7 times. They told me on the way to the hospital.
Wow.
So yeah. They normally give up after 2 or 3, but my heart was, just beating so irregular. They were trying to get it going. Well, they got me to the hospital, called my wife, and said, your husband has had a massive heart attack. You need to get here. And she did. And they told her, said, well, he'll never live through the night. Get all your family together. And I had family that lived in Colorado. They came in and all over the country, and 2 or 3 days later, they still did not have too much hope for me. But my cardiologist, which I credit him and the surgeons with saving my life, got a stent in, and that freed up the flow of blood. And they finally decided that after several days, they were going to bring me out of this drug-induced coma and see if I was actually, a candidate for triple bypass or however many I needed. And I could wiggle my toes. And, they asked me who the president was, and I think I said Jimmy Carter, but they said that was close enough. Close enough, yeah. And after that, I did have a triple bypass done. And it came down to just the next day. I don't remember this, but they got me out of bed. I was like a sack of potatoes, I'm sure. Had some big guy trying to help me walk down the hall. And after a couple of days, I started making trips up and down the hall, and I started getting bored with being in the hospital after I woke up. And I said, well, what's it going to take to get me out of here? And they said, well, when you can go up and down those steps by yourself without us helping you, you can go home. So 2 days later, I went up and down the steps because I definitely didn't want to be in the hospital anymore. And then I came back home and started recuperating. And it's just, it was quite a road. It was something I didn't even know what had happened to me. And when I woke up in the hospital, I thought I was in a car wreck. And that's what I told my wife. And she says, no, ding dong, you had a heart attack. So.
Oh Oh, wow.
I listened to that story, and I've told this story about my mom on the podcast before, but I see just a lot of parallels. And my mom recently has had breast cancer surgery, and she was diagnosed back in November. Well, back in the late summer and spring, she was inspired by watch me go out and run and do what I'm doing and lose weight, get healthy. And she kind of slowly started doing the same thing, and then finally she said that, "Hey, are there walkers in your run group?" And so I lied to her and I said yes. And so she would come to our run group on Wednesday nights, and everyone would take off, and we would walk. And so we'd go a block to begin with, then we'd go 2 blocks, and then 3 blocks, and then after a while, she signed up for the Amazing Grace, and that was her first 5K that she did, and she walked, and I think she jogged it in there at the end, and then that was prior to her being diagnosed with breast cancer, and the doctors had told us that at her age, she did amazingly well because she was in such good physical shape, and I wonder if there's some parallels between you starting walking. Starting to get out there with that running group, that whenever you did have this health issue that happened to you so suddenly, I wonder if it would have been different if you wouldn't have been working on your fitness and your health.
That is so true. I talked to my cardiologist about that in depth, of course, and he said that's why they kept hitting you with the shock in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, because they had not given up on you, because your heart was strong enough that it was still, beating as irregular as it was, and they were trying to get it back into more of a regular rhythm. And he said, that your being out and exercising had made all the difference in the world on it. And as determined as I was, the race that I was training for 5 weeks after my triple bypass, I walked in that first 5K, that armed forces race. And I had the group of people that I ran with all made up shirts, which of course I wouldn't take anything for the one they made for me. And it said "Running for Bobby." And so they all came out on the course after they finished, of course, and walked in with me. So it was quite a special day. I'll never forget that, for sure.
Oh, that is definitely the running community there. And so, a month after that, the Joplin tornado struck, and that killed 161 people in Joplin, destroyed a third of the city. And, has that had any sort of effect on, continuing with your running goals and continuing with the running community in Joplin? Because I think that the Joplin area has something really special going. I think that there was a lot of hurt that was out there. There was a lot of people that needed something in their lives to fulfill it with a little bit of joy. And I think that there's something special going on in Joplin that other communities don't have, especially in the running community. Do you see that in the groups that you train, the groups that you work with?
I couldn't agree more. I hate to use names, and I won't, but there was a gal that was running whose son was killed in the tornado. And this is going on a couple of years later, and she so wanted to do the half marathon. And we would get to the point, and it was close to where her son was killed, actually. And that was such a moment, and we kept encouraging her. We could not get her to go past that point. Well, finally, the week before the race, she did. And she finished the race, and of course, dedicated it to her son. And it was quite a moment when she came across the finish line.
And really, the last mile of the race is an emotional thing for the people in this community, because there's 161 flags that lines the road, that you go out that way. And then you pass those flags, and each one of those has a name of one of the victims of the tornado. And that's kind of your inspiration whenever you take off and you go past those. And then whenever you're coming back, it's the end of the race, and you're coming back through those names. And you've had your own personal struggle and to get through the race, and it's hard. But then you read those names. It can be a really emotional thing to realize that hey, I'm out here. I'm doing something that's fun. It's hard, but there's people that don't have that opportunity now, and so you can do that in honor of those people who lost their lives that day.
That is so true. A couple of years ago, they do what they call the Walk of Silence, and it's the night before the marathon, and I got to lead that one year. And oh my, you want to talk an experience? I led that, and people are talking and joking until they say, "Okay, begin." Not a word is said, and people walk up to the flags that you're talking about that had their loved ones on it. They take pictures. I mean, they cried. It's quite an emotional thing. And when we would, I paced that a couple of years ago, and when I would come back, people, they would just be cheering on. And I would hear, people say their loved one's name that got killed, and many of them had their names on their back. And you just can't you just can't believe the emotion that runs through everybody's head and heart when you see those at the end of the race.
Yeah, I can remember maybe mile 10 of the Joplin half marathon a few years back, and it was hot and I was having a hard time, and I saw this woman in front of me that had a shirt that said, "I spent 3 days buried under my house. And I'm running the half marathon. What's your excuse?" And I just think it's just, that's just that can-do attitude. And that's the whole community of Joplin, that can-do attitude, the way that, the rebuild has done, and the way that, we celebrate what we've lost, but we also celebrate, what we're building and what we're becoming. And that's just such the running community in Joplin. And it's a great and amazing thing.
You're so right. We are so blessed to have such a great running community here. I remember several of the runs, and I kept telling people, I said, I'd like to run on this, or I'd like to run there, but it's right through the devastation area. And then, I started thinking, that may be a good way to heal. So we would run, and I'll never forget the smell. Andy, I don't know if you had that too, but we would run down a street, and it was just the smell of the dust and everything where they had wrecked the houses or the buildings or the businesses. But that's just something I always remembered. But I think that really helped us to actually, help people heal to get past that, because we ran and it started to get back to a normal thing. And I kind of think that worked out well. Andy, did you feel that too?
I really did, because that was one of the things I helped a lot with the relief effort. And, that's a whole long story of what all we went through with our business and what we did to help. But I can remember being in the destruction area, and exactly what you said, the smell that you can't even describe it, that combination of dirt and dust and burning and electrical and just everything just all just destroyed and just crushed together and then just dumped everywhere. And you can't explain it. And, whenever you do go through the area, it's almost like it's there in your memory, but that smell is not there anymore. But it's burned in there. But you get to see the new homes that are being built. There's a lot of empty lots that are still there, but there's so much construction and so much recovery there that that every year we run through that area, that scar down the center of town. That smell in your memory just gets a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter, and it's healing, and that's what that race means to me. Absolutely.
It is. I'm actually on the board for the Joplin Memorial Run, and I'm so proud of the group that we have. And before every meeting, we actually have a moment of silence for the people that lost their lives in that tornado, which means a lot to me too. And we tried to actually run the tornado route, but when we got to 20th and Range Line, it was kind of tough to block the range line off. They said, "No way, not going to happen, not going to do it." So that's why the course is kind of the way it is, because I've heard different people talk about the Joplin Memorial Marathon and why we didn't go there, but you just couldn't get across range line.
Yeah, well, the race is absolutely spectacular. I would recommend anyone to check it out, and that is the Joplin Memorial Marathon. And that's going to be coming up pretty soon here at the end of May. And so you still got some time if you want to get into it. And this is one of those that is worthy for travel. We got a lot of hotels around the area, and if you're looking for a Missouri Marathon or something different, this is top notch. It's run just like any big city marathon, and I'd really recommend anyone to check that out. And you can go to their website for that. Moving on, the Williams Route 66 Marathon. That's in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that's in middle November. The board of directors, and I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing this correctly, the Tovander family named you the recipient of the 2014, I think it's Kjell Tovander Award.
Well, you've done very well with that. When I had to speak there, I practiced that for 2 months, and it's Shell is how they pronounce that. And Kjell Tovander. And I met his mother and his family, and just the most wonderful people in the world. If I can give you just a brief history of what happened to Kjell.
Please.
He was actually getting ready to go into the service. And he was a super young man, and thought he was in, top shape, and was running the half marathon down at Williams Route 66, and actually suffered a heart attack and died.
Ooh.
Yeah, and his mother is the most wonderful person in the world. And then between her and the race directors down there, they came up and decided they wanted to do the Kjell Tovander Award, and you're recommended by your peers, and they decide who's going to who's worthy of it, who has done something for the community, and has overcome adversity. A couple of years before myself, they had a woman who they called her the flashlight finisher. And she ran it, and it was 12 hours. And when she came in, they still had the finish line set up, and they had a bunch of flashlights for her to see to finish. So it's a wonderful, wonderful event. And I've run that full, I guess, 3 years in a row now. So I really love the Williams Route 66 and all the people involved with it.
Yeah, that's a great race. I have a terrible work conflict, and so I'm probably never going to be able to run that unless I retire or burn the business down. But yeah, I've heard wonderful things about that race too. And so maybe we can get Steven to go down there and run that and do a race review for us.
I might do that one. That one's what? When is that race?
Mid-November?
It's in November.
Oh, not this year.
Yeah.
Steven's working on 100-miler.
Oh my!
It'd be my first one.
My.
See, I don't get that crazy.
No, they have a what they call Center of the Universe, which is the world's shortest ultra in combination with the Williams 66 Marathon. And you get a little coin, and I think they give you a drink or whatever you want when you do it, but it's on the course, and that's about as close as I'm going to get to a 100-mile race, because I think it was another 0.3 of a mile longer than the 26.2.
Oh, I think I'm just going to do one and I'll be done.
That's a long ways.
So I think we've had a great introduction to our co-host today, Mr. Ballard. And so you are newly retired or almost retired. And so what's coming up here in the future for you? You're going to continue doing marathons and half marathons and racing?
That's my plan. In fact, I'm hoping to be done in the next week or so. I think we're real close to having it wrapped up, and my poor wife, I've signed up, and actually since your intro here, I've done 6 fulls, and I've signed up for number 7, and I'm going to pace number 8 this year. So I've got 2 more coming, and I work at the Y still, and I've been in conversation with them, and I'm hoping to do a few more things for the Y here in the future. So I'm hoping to spend most of my time, training, running, getting paid to run. That's my goal anyway. So.
Well, that sounds great, because whenever you go to a race, I'm serious, you never see people having more fun than Bobby's crew. I mean, your crew just has the best time out there, and I'm so jealous of that.
we are so fortunate when I've got to really watch my weight here, because when we get done running, we have what we call the board meeting, which means we usually go to a Mexican restaurant or wherever, someplace that serves barbecue, and we usually have dinner, and of course we stand around and talk, and we just have a great time. But my first marathon, I'll never forget that. Myself and another girl that I run with, we both gained about 7 pounds, because when we got done, we would go eat. But of course, when you're done training, you want just the worst thing you can have: French fries, pizza, hamburgers, all kind of that.
Well, wait, that stuff's bad for you?
Well, they tell me that, but it's easy to do. So after my first one, I kind of learned, what you need to eat when you run or when you actually finish. Just don't inhale everything that sounds good, because many of our training runs end up at restaurants, which is probably not a smart thing.
But, eat to run. Why not?
That's always my problem. Eat way too much.
Absolutely.
Well, then let's get on to the main topic. It's been a long introduction for Bobby, but the main reason why I wanted to have him on this evening is because he is such a group leader, and I've been wanting to talk about this topic for a long time on the podcast, and that's running groups. Now, myself, I'm involved with 2 of them. Steven is a solo guy.
This is where I'm, I don't mean to interrupt. This is where I'm curious and fascinated, because I started running by myself. I've said before, nobody where I live runs. I think the largest group run I've been on is when Andy and I do our annual 50K/75 or whatever K. So it's the most I've ever run with is one other person. So I'm yeah. So I'm kind of fascinated, because I would actually like to start a run group here in my little town, because there's a whole lot of people that could use a little running in their lives around here.
That's so true. We got into this, so many years ago, and I was actually just somebody after I, came back from my heart attack and everything, and I got hired from the Y, and we would meet once a week for our class. And, we've had the 5K, a half marathon, even a full marathon training class. And we would only meet one time, where the people would actually pay to be the class. And I said, well, let's just continue to do that, but we'll meet 2 more days a week or 3 more days a week, depending on how big a race we're training for. So when we first started this, it was pretty small, and I would put out a group text, believe it or not. And then I got to the point, it got a little hard to do, so we put out group emails. Well, it got to the point that got to be so big. Now I just put everything out on Facebook. We have different kinds of, we have a group called Common Grounds, which is what we'll put a lot of the Y stuff out on, but then I'll just actually put it on my own page, and then I will share it on all the other run group pages, because some of their people will want to run with us, and we have, we've had over 100 in some of our run groups before.
Wow.
And it looks like a race going down the road when we take off. But I find out, and we have different people all the time, and we'll run various courses, easy, some hard. We've got a hospital track here that we run around, and it's exactly 1 mile. And so I'll put that out, and I'll say any new beginners that, somebody that's never run before, which I really enjoy beginner runners, just because, it's just to introduce them to something new. And we'll have them come out, because they can run 1 mile. And that's a big thing. When you're first starting, you can tell all your friends at work that you made a mile. But we so love the group aspect of it. And the people tell me, I'll get this email all the time, or a message on Facebook, and they'll say, I'm so nervous about coming out. I cannot run, an 8 or 10 or 12 minute mile. And they're so afraid. Well, after the first time we're there, they'll actually, find out that we're not so scary to be around. And a lot of times I will walk with, the first time a person comes out, until they kind of get, their feet wet and meet some other people. And 90% of the time they know someone who is there. So our group runs have just become a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday thing. We'll do 3, 4, 5, 6 miles on Saturday or on Tuesday and Thursday. And Saturdays are long runs. So we'll go anywhere from, people can do any distance they want, but we'll go 6, 8, 10 miles unless we're training for a race. And then we'll add, of course, quite a bit more to it.
So what's the big challenge in keeping people motivated? Because that's the most frustrating thing with me is that within my group in the church that we'll have, in our introductory meeting where we don't even go out and run, we're just coming in, we're discussing how it's going to work and give everyone some expectations that we could have 30, 40 people show up. And then whenever it's the first time to run, well, we'll have 30, 20 people. And then by the time you get to the end of the cycle, you've kind of dropped down to maybe 15 core people that you get most of the time. I mean, what is the key to keep people motivated and keep coming? Because they came for a reason. They came because they wanted to be a part of that. And I don't think that, it's hard, but what's the biggest thing in keeping people motivated and coming?
Well, the way, and you talk about our groups always look like we're having the most fun, and I think that's a lot of it. If we can, when I put out a post and for a new class, I will say, see this group of people running down the road. They're having a great time. They're laughing, joking. Do you want to be a part of that group? Well, then come out to, the WISE Anyone Can Run class. And I think that's kind of the same philosophy I have on all of our group runs too, because if you can talk to somebody and take their mind off of their pain, I guess is a good way to put it, because it's not an easy thing to do. And people who, have run a lot, and I try to tell that to people and they say, oh, somebody like Andy or Steven or whoever, running's easy to them. No, it's not. They suffer your pain is just as hard as a beginner runner too. And it's just, you've been doing it longer, a few of the secret ins and outs, but that's what I just try to tell, new runners is I try to let them know that, we're there for them, but we're going to have, fun with it. We're going to joke about it. So, and like I say, I try to spend a lot of time with first timers, just to kind of get them over the hump, until they find out, we're not so scary to be around.
Yeah, I think that big key is there's two keys that I've found with a beginning runner is that you don't want them to feel alone. That's the biggest thing. And then whenever I do my group runs, those are not going to be any of my key workouts. I'm going to do all those by myself. So that way, whenever I'm with the run group, I'm simply there just for the run group, and I'll try to run with someone different every time. So you've got that key of not making someone feel alone, and then you also need to let them understand that, no, you're not ruining my run because I'm going slow with you. I'm going slow with you because I want to hang out with you and I want you to be successful. And that's the tough thing when, there may be so many new people that I can't reach everyone, or there's not enough people that are out there that gets out of their cliques and jumps in with someone new and makes them feel special, makes them feel like they belong there. That's the biggest thing that I've seen.
I think you're so right, and it's just you're taking people out of their comfort zone for sure, because just getting them out there to do something, and it's so easy to say, well, I'll come next time, and if we can just get them out there once, and at least just kind of look like we're having fun, but you're talking about your numbers dwindling. In every class I've taught, we have the same thing. And we have, we'll have 25 in our beginner runners class. By the time we're done, if we've got, 15 or 17, we're doing really well. And it's just that people, it's hard, and they've got to have the will and the desire to do it, I think, is a lot of it too.
Well, I always looked at it as, if you're getting into running, you're making a lifestyle change. So you're going to get people that come out that they're not ready yet, like quitting smoking. I mean, I'm a former smoker and I probably quit 50 times over the years. And it finally took that one time where I'm like, oh, I'm making the change to my life. And I think it can be the same way with people getting into running. They're interested in it. They come to the meeting and they're just not ready. And I don't know if there's anything you can really do to, to help someone until they get to that point that they're ready.
You're so right. I have people come all the time, and we have them fill out a questionnaire, and they say, what do you want out of this class? 85, 90% want to lose weight. And so, we talk to them about that, and I'll say, that losing weight is 80% of what you eat. It's only 20 or 25% of exercise. And people think, I can go out and run 3, 4, 5 miles and eat anything I want. Well, that's not so true. And, but we've had great success with people losing weight, because you take somebody from a completely sedentary background and you get any exercise at all. And then, they're thirsty, so they drink water. So it all kind of goes hand in hand. So we've had great success with weight loss, but people, also tend to think that's all they need to do, which is not true.
Yeah, there's easier exercises. That's all you want to do.
Yes, there is. Yep.
I love what you said there about talking with the people about what their goals are, because exactly like what you said, 80% of them, they're going to want to lose weight, and I think that, like Steven said, that lifestyle change, that one cheeseburger did not make you fat, one salad is not going to make you thin, and training and running 5K is not going to make you thin. It's not going to make you look like those fast people that are out there that are winning races. Most likely you're never going to look like that. That's a special person that's done it their entire life, and they have a special talent for that. But I think that it's important that maybe you communicate to people that, yes, you can do these things. It's going to be that lifestyle change, but maybe you should curve your thought process and your goals less from losing weight to being healthy, to being healthier, and move those goals just a little bit slower. And, this is what you should actually expect out of it, because, people are going to go through that first month and they're going to step on the scale and it's like, I haven't lost an ounce. Well, you know what? You probably put on a little muscle, or, maybe you're not yet to that point where you're going to lose some weight, but you're building up that endurance, and you're building up that habit that's going to take you there eventually. It's just not going to happen yet.
That is so true. And I try to tell people, it took you a long time to gain this weight. It's going to take you a long time to lose this weight. And it is a lifestyle change. We don't call it a diet. It's a lifestyle change. You have to learn, a combination of eating and exercise that works for you. And, I can tell you some horror stories. I've had people show up to my first beginner runners class in flip-flops. I am not exaggerating. And come to run in flip-flops. And I said, oh, my, we are going to have – well, I didn't think we were going to run that hard, and they gave me all kinds of excuses. So the first thing we try to do is get them in, some decent running shoes. We try to get them to go get fitted instead of just, buying something themselves. But it's a money thing, too. But it's so true that people do not want to think that, just with a little exercise and eat a salad once a month, that they're all of a sudden going to be slim and trim. But it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, the reason why diets fail is because diet is self-induced famine, and famine is not fun.
Exactly.
That's good. That's very good.
So what do you do to keep things fresh and new in a group? Because you get towards the end of a training cycle and you're just slogging through the miles. What do you do to keep things exciting to where it doesn't get stale?
Well, that's a really great question, because we have that too. We try to, like I say, make the runs fun, but we have destination runs, and in the at Christmas we do jingle bell runs. We have Halloween runs. We do all different kinds of things. But even on our group runs, the biggest thing I do is we go to different locations almost every day. We do not run the same route day after day after day. So we'll, our Tuesday run will be one place, our Thursday run will be one place, and Saturday, we may start at one place and then end up, and it'll either be outside, the coffee shop or one of the restaurants that we like to go to. But we just always try to, make it different, because if you run the same route, day after day, people are really going to get bored with that too, I feel.
Yeah, I absolutely get that. So then that kind of leads into leadership in a group, and this doesn't necessarily mean your group, but any group that's out there is going to need some sort of specific leadership. And what is the role of that leader? I mean, there's a lot of things that have to happen. Obviously, you have to figure out routes. You have to figure out, coaching plans to get everyone towards their goal. Might have to vary that between the different types of experience that's in that group. Water stops. I mean, there's all these things that, someone who's just a member of the group, they're like, I want to run. I expect to be essentially taken care of. Because beginners aren't going to think about, okay, I need to take care of my hydration. I need to take care of my fueling. And so leadership in a group is a big aspect. What are the roles of a leader in maybe your group or what you consider in other groups?
What I really think, and you're hit the nail on the head there too, is about water stops and setting the route. But you really have to delegate things to other people. In our like our half marathon classes, we will actually have non-running spouses, and other people actually take care of the water stops. We will say, meet us at a certain location, and we'll come there, and then we'll usually do an out and back, and sometimes we'll even have two, water stops formed ahead at the same place. And we also doing the routes. It's not such a big deal on the up to a half marathon class, but the full marathon class, I had a lot of the other experienced runners put some of their favorite routes out. And we tend to use them a lot, and then everybody's got a different place they like to run. But we really, go ahead.
Okay. I know that all through the Joplin community, there's a lot of leadership in the running community, and I'm a member of the Joplin Roadrunners, and I know that there's just constantly social network. Facebook posts of we're going to be running here. We're going to be running here. This is the route we're going to do. And there's also some flexibility to it. But it's almost like there's just that kind of community game plan that's being thrown out there, and everyone's just really working together, and everyone feels like they have that cohesiveness, because that's the tough thing. I am the next town over. And I do have to do a lot of my running on my own, and I don't have that group support, but I get to see that, and I get to follow it on social network, and I kind of incorporate that into my training that, hey, it's Tuesday night, there's a track plan going on. And, the same person who always makes that plan continues to make that plan, and it's always cohesive, and it's just always constantly coming in my feed. And so it's nice that leadership is really important. And so I think that's the biggest thing. If you have good quality leadership, then you're going to draw people in. You're going to maintain people.
Right. I couldn't agree more. We have such a great diversity of runners here and leaders too that I see. And that's what I love about Facebook. Just yesterday, I had a wedding, and then I announced a race here locally, so I didn't get my long run in. So I put out Sunday, I'm going to run from the Y to Y and back, and I had other people join me. So it was nice, and Stephen, I know when I first started, I used to run, solo. I'd have my, music and everything. I'm to the point now I cannot hardly run by myself because I'll talk myself out. I don't know how you do it. I mean, it is. I know you probably don't have a choice, but that's got to be tough.
Well, it started, because of no choice. But I do think there's some benefit to starting solo, because you're not. I even see. I'm big into yoga too, and all the time I'll see two people start yoga class, two friends. And then all of a sudden, neither of them show up because one of them isn't coming. The other one's not going to go without her friend. And I think you may get that in running too, that I think you need to build that. I'm doing this. I don't care about anybody, if anybody else is doing it or not. I'm doing this because I want to do it. So I think that had a benefit for me. I think I would enjoy group runs. I just, I have to travel an hour to do a group run.
Yeah.
And,
I completely understand that. And I have many in our group that love to run by themselves because, they really kind of clear their mind, and it's just a real peaceful thing, and I know Andy will agree with me too. If we don't run every couple of days, you can tell by being around us that something's not right. They say, "Oh, did you not go for a run today?" Yes, that is correct. But I'm to the point on my long runs. I guess I should say I can handle a 6 or an 8 or something. But if we're doing a half marathon or more, I like that constant chatter. I guess there's a couple of gals that I run with, and they know who they are. They tend to talk. You could ask me what did they say, and I would have no idea, but they're talking the whole time. And I think that just kind of takes my mind off, the pain. Yeah.
Well, I know even for like me, I do have a coach, and, I told him from day one, you can beat me as much as you want, 99% of the time, but at least one long run every month. I don't want any kind of scheduling. You can tell me go out for 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, but I don't want anything else other than that, because that's the time I go out that reminds me why I started running. I get on the back country roads. I stop and pet the animals.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I touch on something else that I've got into here in just the last couple of years? And I didn't do that until a couple of years ago, is if you're familiar with Jeff Galloway.
Oh, yes.
I actually took his class, got to run with him a couple of times. And, I have turned more people on to his walk run method. And, I am so big on that. I mean, I'm talking for senior people, heavier people that, have trouble with the running the constant. And, we've had such great success with this, Jeff Galloway. And I still encourage people to run, all of it. But, for people getting older, people that are having more trouble with it, I am so big on the Jeff Galloway, site and, on his, system. When I got to run with him here, it was just a year ago. I thought, well, when we first started this, we'd run 3 minutes and walk 30 seconds. And I thought that's what we were going to do. But we took off with him. We'll let him set the pace. We ran 30 seconds and walked 30 seconds. And it was unbelievable. I didn't even feel like I'd done anything, when I got used to it. And, we've, for myself, I've had some, lower 30-minute 5Ks with it. I still know you can run faster, by, just running it all, but, I'm really big on that. And I think that's, he's taught many, many people this, run walk system, and he's had some super fast, full marathons with it too.
Oh yeah. I know lots of people seem to, latch on to that method. And I mean, I guess I kind of do it when I'm on my monthly get back to nature runs because I'll walk, I'll stop, I'll take lunch with me, I'll stop and eat.
Whenever I had my half marathon PR, and I mean I went out hard, I went out fast, and I crashed at mile 10 or 11, and I told myself, it's like, okay, you've really worked hard this big chunk of the race, and you still got an opportunity to PR here. Instead of just really crashing, and trying to push on and then just, be completely out. I started a run walk, and I started doing intervals, and I was amazed at, how quickly I was able to finish and still keep my times pretty decent just by taking those short walk intervals, running hard, short walk intervals. And, I still ended up with a PR that day. And, that was the last couple miles.
It really is. It really is. And to go through his class, I went through, I don't know, it was almost 3 hours. And he touched on, just everything. And we had a very small class, so we got to, interact with him quite a bit. And just a super nice guy. I mean, he truly believes in what he does. So we had, in our last full marathon class, we had of course I had several coaches with me, but I actually taught to run walkers. And then we actually had, people who would, try to run the whole thing. And so it worked out really well for us.
I know I'll be doing it this will come out after But I'm running the Frisco 50 here in a few days, and I guarantee I'll be walking a little bit.
You bet. I think that's great.
Andy and I do the famous, what's our schedule? 25, run 20, walk 5.
Yeah, that works for a while.
That works.
No, I just gonna say I think that's great. But yeah, and you're way into big miles there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Bobby, I want to give you an opportunity. I think that this podcast is going to come out just in time. If anyone is local in the area that want to sign up for your race that you have, and this is called the 5K on the Runway. This is a really cool race. I've yet to run it. I'm going to try to make it this year, but I've had a lot of friends that have. Tell us what's going on with that.
All right, I'd love to. We actually it's called the Freedom of Flight 5K Run on the Runway. I know that's a long name, and this year, unfortunately, it's already sold out for the night race, but we still have the day race available on May 5th. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just like, darn, that's what I wanted to do.
Yep. It's on Cinco de Mayo, the night race, and we limited it to about 60 people, and of course we filled it up immediately, and we cranked the runway lights up on high. You still have to bring your headlamps and your knuckle lights and all that, but I got to do a little test run just a couple of weeks ago. It is such an amazing experience, and they, of course, thank goodness, closed the runway off, and we're going to have a Cinco de Mayo party after it's over. Of course, my group will have a Cinco de Mayo party. Well, now on Saturday, the next day, this will be our third year for this one. We actually have it on the runway again, but it's during the day, and we have so many static displays of airplanes, and all the money goes to the Freedom of Flight Museum, which is at the Joplin Airport, and they do such a great job with that. It's all to tell kids about what kind of opportunities there are in aerospace and flying and everything, and that's what all our funds go to. And it's strictly a non-profit deal, but we encourage people to come out. We have a kids 1 mile fun run and a 5K, and we just confirmed we always have a flyover. And there's this year, his name is Kjell Franklin, and oh my goodness, the thing this guy does with an airplane is just unbelievable. So we want everybody to come out and run in that. And we have unlimited on the day run, but you have to. The night when we limited it to 36 minutes, you had to be able to run a 12-minute mile or less to finish it, and you had to show your times from other races. But there's no time limit on the runway on the day race.
Well, I've heard that it's such a cool race, and everyone that I've talked to, that it's almost frustrating that you can turn around and then head back, and from a mile and a half out, you can see the finish line. And so it's just, is that finish line ever going to come? And so it's flat and fast. And so if someone wants to go out there and set a PR, that's where to do it at.
I'm telling you, it is, there's 8 feet of elevation change over the whole course, 8 feet. And it's a runway, and it's 75 feet wide, and it is, we've had some really fast times. The first year we had a little bit of a wind issue. It slowed down last year, so we're hoping for dead still this year, so we can really have some fast times. But there's so much to see. It's kind of like a mini air show, and just all kinds of things for kids to come out and do. And like I say, sign-ups are going on localraces.com until the day of the race, and we'll take sign-ups right up in person right up till the time we start.
All right. Well, we will definitely put a link in the show notes.
Okay. I appreciate that.
And actually, I would like to bring up a race, if I may, Mr. Andy.
Absolutely.
Myself and at least a couple other people from our Facebook group, we will be out running Ruts, the Run Under the Stars, this June 10th in Paducah, Kentucky. This is a race put on by Steve Durbin, friend of the show. But anyways, we talked a little bit about it before. It is run at night, and it is 10 hours around a horse track. Now, I know many people might be going, that sounds horrible. Actually, Hang on. I think Andy's got this one.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun because you get to camp right in the center of the track, and they have shade trees. You can set up your tents, your own aid station right there. So I'd really like to get some more Heartlanders out there and make a party of it. Mr. Durbin has been kind enough to give us a discount code. I'll put a link in the description, but if you go to Ultra Sign Up and look for Ruts on June 10th and enter Heartland Runner, it'll get you $15 off the price, and it's not badly priced. And if we get enough people, maybe we can talk Mr. Andy into providing some mammal flesh for us to cook while we're out on the track.
With some barbecue, that's fine, as long as I don't have to run around a horse track for 10 hours.
You should come out to the horse track. I think it sounds like a good time. And I think Laz even runs this race. So you might be able to come out and get insulted or get some words of wisdom. But anyways, I will put all the links in there for anyone that's interested.
Okay, sounds great.
Sounds like a fun event. Yeah, I'm just looking at it on the website right now, and they do a 4-person relay, and there's all kinds of cool things there. Yeah, that sounds like a great event, great night thing to do.
So you're coming out?
July 8th. Actually,
it's June 10th.
I don't know if you want me to give a plug or not, but I'm doing the Fix 7. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't heard of that one.
It's in Davenport, Iowa. Meb runs this, and I'm going to put him to shame this year. I'm not going to let him, intimidate me. So, no, they have, it's over 10,000 people. It's a big race, but it's a 7-mile race. And it's been going on for 35, 40 years. And it's in just outside of Davenport, Iowa. And I've got some friends who used to live there. So this will be my first year at that. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's in July. I think it's in July. I believe the same weekend.
Well, that'll be fine because this one's in June. So you got plenty of time.
Oh, well, I'm set now. Yeah. No, it's Saturday. Yours is Saturday. No, I'm probably reading the wrong one. No, Saturday, July 8th, 8 p.m.
There's a whole
run under the stars.
Yeah. There's a couple of them. The one I'm running is June 10th in Paducah, Kentucky.
Well, then we're okay on that.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. I don't think I'd go 10 hours, but it'd be a good relay. So.
Well, even like I said, you could, they even say you just step off the track and run, and that's the way I'm running it. I don't care if I would get 60 miles in or if I get 10 miles.
It'll be a fun event. So yeah.
Well, you got anything else for us, Andy?
You guys have anything else to talk about?
I think that's all I had to say.
I don't think so. I mean, just like my beard, this podcast is getting a little long in the tooth. And so if you want to lead us out, Stephen.
Yeah, I just would like to encourage everyone to join our Facebook group. There'll be links in the show notes, but you can just search for Heartland Running. Join the social group. There's a business group, but that one's no fun. You want the social group, that's where the fun is. If anyone has any comments, questions, you can call our voicemail at area code 417-319-1060, and you might get to hear yourself on the air. And, if you're really enjoying the show, please tell a friend.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Bobby Ballard, for joining us. And we really appreciate your talk. And so I am Andy.
And I'm Steven.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Take care, everyone.